Hello ladies, welcome to my channel. So my name is Susan Marks. I am a nurse practitioner and I'm focusing on issues in menopause. The last couple of videos I did have been on belly fat, and this is going to be my last video on belly fat, but I have a very exciting announcement and opportunity for a free challenge for anybody who wants to take a deeper dive. I'll get into that towards the end of the video, so please stay tuned. So in the first part of in part one of the Bye Bye Belly Fat video series, I talked all about the myths and the truths about losing weight and your hormones. And in part two, I talked about sugar and how sugar plays havoc basically with your entire body, and especially with your blood sugar and your insulin, which ultimately leads to storage of belly fat rather than burning belly fat. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about why it's so important to know about belly fat, what the risks are, what the usual suspects are that lead to increased belly fat. And I think you're going to learn some things that you probably haven't heard before. So stay tuned to the end. And if you like this kind of material, if you could like and subscribe, maybe hit the notification bell so that you can hear about my upcoming videos when I post them. Or you can leave a comment and let me know what subjects you want me to cover. I'm happy to do that. So let's get into today's topic. So when we're talking belly fat, first of all, there are two different types. The first type is the belly fat that's right underneath your skin, which is basically, it's called subcutaneous belly fat. And then we have the visceral fat. So visceral fat is inside of our abdominal cavity. It surrounds our organs. It helps to protect them. But when we have too much belly fat, it actually crowds them and is not good for our organs. So when you have visceral belly fat, way more so than the subcutaneous belly fat, you run a very, very high risk of heart disease, of diabetes type 2, of breathing problems, of elevated cholesterol levels, and hypertension. All of these things are associated with premature death. So that's why it's so important to really focus on the belly fat. And it's at this time of a woman's life where she's really starting to have to deal with it. I mean, some women in their younger years, they have a belly fat. A lot of times you'll see kind of that apple shape with the thin legs, which is kind of my deal. I have thin legs, and then I've always had a belly my entire life. Once I hit menopause, I went into a whole new league. So I know exactly what it's like to, have to deal with it, get frustrated with it not going away. Sorry about that. And, finally figuring out the secret sauce, so to speak, with getting rid of the belly fat. I've lost about 50 pounds. I was around 190. I'm now at about 144. And I couldn't be happier. I still have a little bit of a belly. I just think that's genetic, and it's, not going to go anywhere. But especially for women who have never had a belly and now all of a sudden they have it, it can be quite distressing. So, how do you know if you have a big belly, so to speak? Well, it's interesting to know that you can have a normal BMI, which is body mass index, which is usually the number that the doctor looks at when he tells you you're either normal weight, you're overweight, you're obese, or you're morbidly obese. And so you can have a normal BMI and still be at much higher risk for the heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, elevated cholesterol, all of that, if your waist is greater than 35 inches. So you just want to take a tape measure, put it around just above your hip bones. You can feel your hip bones right where your sides are. So just above that, you take the measuring tape. If it's over 35 inches, then you need to start addressing the belly fat and start burning it off so that you can maintain good health for the future. And so some people don't understand what kind of the usual suspects are when it comes to the things that we do, our lifestyle or whatever, that causes us to gain belly fat. So I'm just going to go through them. There are 8 or 9 of them. Some of them you're probably going to recognize. Others you probably didn't realize. So the number 1 culprit in gaining belly fat is sugar. And I talked about all of this in the last part 2 of this video series. But sugar is the number 1 culprit of gaining belly fat. And that's because of a couple of different reasons. It raises our insulin levels, which then creates fat storage. And the fructose, which I talked about yesterday, is the worst of them all. So please go back to part 2 and review all of that. And as I said yesterday, I really encourage you to go through your cupboards and your pantry, your refrigerator, pull out all of the food items that have either high fructose corn syrup or any kind of sugar, and put them on the counter and just, take kind of an assessment of the amount of sugar that is in your foods. So sugar is number 1. Number 2 is alcohol. And I explained yesterday how alcohol and fructose are digested in the same way, and that, it's very common for alcoholics to have fatty liver disease, which then turns to cirrhosis, liver failure, and ultimately death. And how fructose, even though you don't get drunk from it, it is metabolized by the body as if it were alcohol. So people are ending up with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that's from fructose. And, there is such an incredibly high rate of liver transplants as a result of fructose. So I highly encourage you, I beg you, if that would work, to get rid of the fructose, get rid of the high fructose corn syrup, and do everything you can to really cut down on the sugar. Your body is going to thank you, and you will be able to live a much healthier and longer life. So I'll get off my soapbox now on the sugar part. Trans fats are also a culprit. Obviously, sedentary lifestyle. The more you're out there and active, the more muscle mass you're going to be creating. The muscle mass weighs more, and so it burns more calories in your body. And it just makes your metabolism more robust. So when you have a sedentary lifestyle, you don't get those benefits, and you'll start to accumulate the fat in your belly. And then you have insufficient protein intake. So it's very important to get high quality protein and in adequate amounts. because protein contains the amino acids that are the building blocks for just about everything. So you want to make sure that you're getting an adequate amount of protein. There are a couple of women in my membership group that are vegetarian, and it's probably most challenging for vegetarians to, number one, limit their carbohydrate and sugar intake, and number two, get adequate amounts of high quality protein. So, I've worked with them in terms of selecting the right types of protein powders and, substituting your breads and pastas and that kind of sugary carbohydrate into more of your vegetables. And so there are ways to get around it. The thing that I was going to mention towards the end of the video is there is so much to talk about with this subject that I've decided to do a 5-day challenge, and that's going to start next week. So if you're interested, we're going to take a very deep dive into getting rid of belly fat and really turning this around, because it has such a huge impact on all of your menopausal symptoms. Estrogen is secreted through fat, so the more fat you accumulate, the more estrogen gets excreted into your body, which increases that estrogen dominance. I mean, it's all so interrelated, and so if you can get a handle on the belly fat and start burning it off, you are going to see improvements in all of your other menopausal symptoms, which is why I always start with belly fat when I'm working with women who are older than 40. So let's see, some of the other culprits or usual suspects, so to speak, in causing us to gain more belly fat are our high stress levels and cortisol. And I've talked about this already, but it's kind of a double whammy, because when you're under stress and your cortisol goes up, both of those things tend to trigger overeating. So not only are you overeating, but everything you're eating is being turned into fat by cortisol and insulin. So if you can keep those stress levels down, you will have a major impact on your body's ability to burn fat rather than store fat. So, and then of course, everybody's heard of the gut biome and how important it is to have the right types of gut bacteria and the right balance of those gut bacterias with probiotics and prebiotics. And so this is another place where if you have elevations of the wrong types of gut bacteria, it can lead to increased absorption of calories through your gut and lead to more fat storage. And then of course the low fiber diet. If everything is kind of getting held up on its way out, then you are going to have not only increased reabsorption of toxins that are supposed to be getting excreted from your body, but because you don't have adequate fiber and you get constipated, those toxins, those xenoestrogens get reabsorbed. They have to go through the liver again. And so simply by adding fiber to your diet can have a huge effect on being able to get all of the toxins moving out so that your metabolism and your liver aren't overtaxed, and you will have an improvement in your belly fat. You're going to have an improvement in all of your bodily functions if you're able to have, number one, an excellent gut microbiome, and number two, that everything is moving right along and not getting held up anywhere. So those are the the usual suspects when it comes to increasing belly fat. Of course, I didn't mention menopause right out of the gates, but I obviously talked about the hormone changes. So all of these things contribute to excess belly fat, and you can start working with those things to get you going in the right direction. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you would like to be included in the 5-day challenge, please send me an email. You can send it to support@yourmenopausemakeover.com, and it's free. It's just too much information for me to keep going this, belly fat part 4, part 5, part 6. So for those of you who are really interested in kind of taking the bull by the horns with your belly fat, you can sign up for this 5-day challenge. And we're really gonna kind of get down into the nitty-gritty and start making some improvements. So I hope to see you in the 5-day challenge. I am going to talk about sleep in the next video, because one of our viewers asked for me to go into more detail on insomnia, anxiety, and weight gain, especially around the belly. So we've already done the anxiety, and I've kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with the belly fat. And now we're going to go into sleep disturbances as a result of menopause and hormonal changes. So stay tuned for that. Again, if you like this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. It helps more people find out about this information that's available. And I will see you the next time. Okay, take care.